Hi, I am dating coach Hayley Quinn, and in this video, I am going to be tackling the hot topic of how the Me Too movement has affected modern dating. Now, I work with men and women of all different orientations and backgrounds, and one of the questions I actually get asked the most is, how do we date post Me Too? Is it still okay to approach someone? How do I get those indicators around consent clear? Can I date anyone at work? All of these questions have erupted. And of course, in this video, the opinion I'm going to be giving, just to be clear about this, is just my opinion. It is not necessarily the rest of the world's opinion. However, I have literally worked with tens of thousands of men and women. So hopefully I'm going to be imparting some useful do's and don'ts onto you today about this movement. Now, this movement kick-started with a hashtag which showed women sharing their experiences of sexual harassment. Now, Me Too has had its backlash, or it's had its secondary commentary with the men's rights movement. I'm going to stick some links to both of those beneath this video if you want to explore this more. But I want to specifically look at the impact of Me Too on dating in four really key areas, which is dating at work, okay or not okay? Dating IRL, that's my shorthand for in real life, okay or not okay? Dating online, okay or not okay? And also what you really need from the other person to co-create this dating experience. Now, that's a word I'm going to be going back to a lot during this video, because I think sometimes when things go awry with dating, it's because the attraction or the pursuit or the connection is very one-directional. You are not getting that sense of togetherness or co-contribution, which is actually what you need for your own self-esteem and to avoid being harassing or towards the other person. Okay, let's start with work. And also I have to apologize, I'm filming in my apartment and in my spare time. I like a bit of gardening here, and this plant is currently out of control. Cue lots of rude comments, I'm sure, in the comment section below. Okay, at work. So this is a funny subject because part of me wants to say, someone's in a workplace, they're there to work, they're being a professional, like the last thing they want to do is date. And arguably, there are far better places to meet someone with less complications than your workspace. However, on the other hand, we have to remember that historically, whether this was in the era of Mad Men and flirting with their secretaries or whatever, lots of people have met through work and continue to still meet through work. So because of this, I would just suggest making a couple of simple policies around it. First of all, the workplace is not the place to date. There are so many other places to meet people. Deprioritize attachments at work. Secondly, ask yourself the question, if you're attracted to someone at work, have I spoken to them? Have I actually connected to them? Or have they just been someone that I'm attracted to that I keep seeing around, and maybe I'm kind of making up, I'm a bit of infatuated with them. Maybe this isn't a two-way thing. Thirdly, probably the clearest and kind of safest way is if you have established that conversation, you are talking, just to say something super casual like, oh, I'm going to go out and grab a coffee. Do you want to come? Now, if there is an inkling of attraction there, they will take that opportunity to spend more one-on-one time with you. Footnote, just because they do that doesn't actually necessarily mean they're attracted to you, but it's a good step in the right direction. I believe, and I could be wrong about this, I believe Facebook has a policy which says you're allowed to ask someone for coffee once, and after that you have to drop it. And I think that's actually quite a sensible way of going about things. And I'd also ask you to remember that, your professional life should be important to you too. So do you really want to create that awkwardness there? I would say it's probably better to focus on other spaces to meet people. And final comment on the work thing, especially if someone's at a conference, as I have been as a speaker myself, it is like the worst thing ever to be singled out on the grounds of your gender or treated differently. That will just make you seem like a dinosaur of dating who's just not cool. So remember to always treat people for their professional role first. Establish that connection. If you're pretty sure it's two-sided, ask them out for coffee. If they say no, let it go. Letting it go is also going to be a theme that you'll notice coming up more through this video. So, whistle-stop tour of how dating has affected Me Too movement. Number 2, meeting people in real life. Now, actually, with the coaching I do, I teach men and women how to meet people in real life. That's my whole thing. So I'm really passionate about it, and I so believe that there is a way to meet people in real life that is ethical and respectful and cool, and it's not so much about where you meet someone, but more about how you go about expressing your interest. That's really the bit that respect is linked to. However, this is my opinion. Some people straight up think that the only places that you should be able to meet people are at designated singles parties or designated, online dating apps where everyone's clear about what their intention is. So again, there's a little bit of personal preference here. Some rules of thumb, if you do want to go about meeting people in real life, first of all, whilst there might be some people that don't agree with this, I definitely speak to a lot of men and women on a daily basis who are really open to meeting people in real life. So there are still a good solid contingent of people out there who think, well, if I start chatting to someone in a coffee shop, or, if I'm out at, a party and I meet a friend of a friend, I'm really open to that. First thing to observe is to be careful of is really just things like physical touch, personal space, and not startling someone. Now, most people, if it's a stranger, there's different kind of zones of closeness that we feel comfortable with. If it's a family member or something, of course you're going to go right in and give them a cuddle. If it's someone that you've just met in like a bookstore, you want to keep a safe 1 meter distance. You also want to be careful that they're not sort of blocked in against, a wall or physically cornered, even if that's not your intention. You also want to always avoid startling someone. This is the point where someone goes, ugh, when you go and say hello to them. Now, that actually shouldn't happen if you've done the approach correctly. Approaching someone in real life, you should be smiling and ideally making eye contact with them before you say hello. You should be approaching like air hostess. See, I could have been an air hostess maybe, to the front or to the, within their peripheral vision. If you approach the side or behind them, they are likely to get, hesitant around that. So being careful that they can see you with a little gesture, that you're presenting yourself as an open and friendly person. Now, I know that the word friendly to some of you out there is probably going to be contentious. You'll probably be thinking, Hayley, my main problem is people always see me as a friend. So how do I correct for that when I'm meeting people in real life? Well, I've seen that the main thing here is the fact that you were speaking to someone who is an effective stranger or a social acquaintance, it is someone new. The newness of that gives a lot of intensity to the interaction anyway. So you really do not have to over-egg or really labor sexual attraction or intention towards them. It's just not necessary. It comes off as crude and weird a lot of the time. What's often better, rather than saying someone has nice legs or nice eyes, it's usually better just to stay away from those very physical based compliments. I think that the reason for that is the compliment that you would receive really well from someone who's like an intimate partner, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you do not receive well from a stranger. So because of that, we want to really stick away from the physical, and I would talk about something about their vibe or what they're doing or how they're carrying themselves. So saying, you seem really confident, or I just had to come and say hello to you, or I thought it was interesting how focused you were on your work, or I like that you're reading a real book. Like, these kind of comments really dodge talking about someone's physical body, but the fact you're making an effort to go up and talk to someone who you don't know, and your non-verbal communication, that is doing enough to distinguish that from being a really friendly, friend-only interaction. So really, I would just avoid saying something that's too cliched or too physical. If you're also the other kind of two major issues of meeting someone in real life, a lot of the time I hear, I'd like to say hello to them, but they were with a friend, or, they were working at something. I would, in this case, just do a bit of acknowledgement and always begin with saying something like, hey, I know I'm kind of gate crashing, or hey, I know you're right in the middle of typing furiously, but I just wanted to say. If you acknowledge what the limitation is or what they're experiencing, they will understand that you understand that they have another life that they're going ahead and leading, and so that you're not intending to take up tons and tons of their time. Finally, if they don't reciprocate, or they say something like, it's been nice chatting to you, but I've got to get back to my work, or me and my friend, we're kind of having a friend catch up, haven't seen them in years. Take that information on board. You do not need to spend your time and energy laboring through an interaction if someone's not reciprocating. It's not about getting past someone's resistance or something weird like that. Instead, take it a step back here and just think, you need to invest your precious time and energy in people that are somewhat open to that. And if they're not open to that, that's okay, but you don't need to push or force anything your side. So, reminder on that note, this kind of also links to how you meet someone online. Remembering that even if you really like their Instagram profile, or if you're talking to them in real life, or if you're messaging them online, no one owes you a date. No one owes me a date, no one owes anyone a date. So you can't carry that expectation or that sense of owing. That's like it's just a general bad vibe to bring into dating. I know it can be hard to not have that outcome orientation, but you literally are not allowed to get pissed off if someone doesn't go on a date with you. If you repeatedly ask someone out and they're really unclear about when, then that's your responsibility to go, okay, this person is closed off, I'm just gonna leave it. If, on that note, if someone doesn't match with you, for instance, on an online dating platform, don't then go try and find them on social media and connect there, because they're using that with a different purpose to online dating. And if you don't match on online dating, don't waste your time chasing them down and finding them on a social media app. That will often not come across that well. Finally, with online dating, assume nothing. You know, it doesn't matter if they've got the sexiest, flirtiest photos or anything up. That doesn't mean that you can draw any conclusions about their personality, and that does not give you permission to message them in any way beyond what is actually a relatively normal, open and engaged conversation. So those are some like basic do's and don'ts. I'm sure there's stuff I've missed, by the way. So if I have, comment below, share your opinions. I'm also very importantly going to be linking to a really cool video about consent. It's the cup of tea video. I'm sure loads of you guys have seen it before. And that's a really, really good one to watch about how things are progressing in the relationship, because we also need to get permission for people before we do things. So again, this is going back to not assuming stuff. And the good news is, if you struggle to maybe instigate going for a kiss or something on a date, it's kind of, we're living in an era where we don't have to do so much guesswork around this. You can literally say like, oh, you know, I want to kiss you now, or can I kiss you now? And wait for their response. So we can verbalize that, get clear consent or not, and then that removes any of that awkwardness about having to guess when someone's ready. And that actually isn't lame. You can say that in a very sexy way. So we're in this era that has changed the role of dating, but I don't think it's all bad. Because actually I think how I like to see it particularly between men and women, is that we're now in this space where we are co-created. It should be co-created. You know, a dating experience shouldn't be one person push, chase with another. Like, that might feel good for your ego, but that actually doesn't really set you up to form anything that's really like healthy and cool and strong. Also, I think there's a lot of the language around dating and sexuality, often, especially when it's about women, it makes out that they're not bringing anything to the party. You know, women need to be turned on, or, you know, women need to be wooed, or all that stuff. In fact, you know, I think women's process of attraction is generally different to guys. I'm going to go out there and say that. However, what we want is, we need someone who, when you're engaging them, who is bare minimum, open to continuing that interaction. So we want someone who is clearly giving you availability to meet, is reciprocating when you know, touch them on the arm. When you say, can I kiss you now? They go, okay then. You know, you want someone who is adding in and investing as well into that interaction. And even when it goes to something like sex, good sex isn't one person doing something to someone else. It's actually two people coming together and both co-creating it. You know, that's something that's how it goes down. Final point on consent is when it comes to this, going back to somebody's house as well, remember, going back to someone's house does not equal consent to anything sexual. As someone's top is off doesn't mean anything. Again, clear verbal consent is needed. And for anyone who's on the receiving end of that, avoid boundary pushes. If someone isn't listening when you're saying, actually, I need to get back to my work now, or, actually, I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm comfortable to kind of hang out and kiss and chat, but that's where it is for me. If someone isn't listening to that, that is, I can't do that anymore. So remember, we want to avoid boundary pushes. We want to look for people that are co-creating. It sounds like a cliche. It is a cliche. Dating is a dance where we want back and forth from the other person. We don't want to assume anything. We want some clear communication. If you get a pushback or no at some stage, listen to that no and be careful around the physical environment that you're approaching in. Be careful around the physicality of your comments. But this doesn't mean that dating doesn't have to exist. It just exists in a different and more conscious way. And my personal belief is that we're in this time of transition. People are quite confused, actually. There's negatives on both sides, whether it's men, women, straight, gay, in between, like something else, undefined. Everyone always has their stuff that's going on with dating. And I think that we're just in the process of coming back to a new normal or establishing a new equilibrium because the old one wasn't working out for a lot of people. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Anyway, appreciating your comments below. I'm sure I haven't covered everything. I've done my best. This is just my opinion. If you want to hear more, please subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be releasing a lot more videos coming up over the next few months. Now I'm back in business, so I'd love to hear from you, or you can catch me on Instagram at Hayley Quinn X. See you later, guys.